Now we have the face looking a little bit sharper, we can bring these leaves out along the contour. So for example, this leaf, we can separate from the one above here like this. So that generally the planes of the leaves are going to go into the carving, following the cheek line, if you like. Also, we will start taking wood below here. Separating this leaf out. So there's a lot of work to be done on this aspect now. And as we do this, we're going to lose our lines, and that's all right. We've got the other side and we can draw them back in. So you want to try and get these lines, these curves, these lines flowing up towards the face and equal on either side. So we're going to be shaping the leaves as well, and one of the things we must do is allow for this pipe-like a shape where the fold, if you like, forms a little ridge that runs up. So we can create that by removing wood from either side and we'll let this run towards the eye. Take a bit off here. So this leaf here, you can give some shape to, of course. So it comes down here and to the back a little bit, moving over. But we do need to remove this sort of wood here in order to get that leaf more 3D. To a large extent, I'm going to make these up. I'm going to just let the shapes work themselves. But all the time I'm thinking of how they flow into the rest of the carving. And don't just hollow them. We'll leave some bits fuller and some bits taken back. So that sort of curve here, this one, we can, when we're ready, we can just smooth that in. So you might have to go over it several times in order to get that looking right, and then these we're going to head up over there. Now another detail is this one here, and for this I'm going to take a big hollow out with this number 10 U-shaped gouge. So this leaf is going up and under that. So lots of things going on. It's a matter of just quietly working this back. So follow this leaf over and into there. So once we've got some depth in the leaf, some thickness, we can, start to give it some nice shape. So there will be central veins in these leaves, sort of coming along here. And also we're going to divide the ends up a little bit. So don't just hollow, think about some bits hollow, some bits rounded, and the whole shape heading up towards the face. So you can see I've moved the carving along quite a bit now. The leaves are simple flowing lines. The ones down here in this quarter, the lower quarters, come up and flow over the cheekbones towards the eye. The ones in the top part are flowing down towards this crease here in the forehead. It's important to get nice, crisp, clean lines. And as you bring the leaves to the outside, you can twist them and make them a little bit more interesting. I've removed some of the secondary leaves, and to some extent I'm making this up as I go along. So this is really quite an enjoyable part. So I'll finish off this bit here, and then I'll turn to this turnover at the top. I finished the top corner here. Interestingly, you can just see some of the little bits of the paper left. That's all that's left of the original surface. Before I turn to this turnover, a couple of things I wanted to point out. First of all, when you come to the end of the leaves here, as you come naturally to the end, you can drop the surrounding wood back to the background at this point. So you can certainly cut that out at this stage. We're not undercutting, so just straight down. The other thing I'd like to point out is this over here. What this is a sort of corky sapwood that's actually appeared in the wood, and I'm going to deal with that later. But what's interesting is that if you look at this wood here, you can see all the lights and shadows and all the form very clearly. And that's because there's no grain, there's no figuring to really spoil your sense of the light and shadow. But over here, I think you can see that it's how it sort of merges and disappears. It's because the figuring in that cork type wood is distracting, is camouflaging effectively what's going on. So that's one of the main reasons with my style of carving. I use fairly bland, simple woods. I am going to deal with that later. It's actually the outside of the tree, so that's the far side near the bark. This is over to the inside of the tree, and what's interesting again for me is how much harder this side of the wood is to that side, and that's wood. Okay, so I've got these coming up here. I've got my two outside leaves, and I'm going to have to lower this down to get at the turnover.